Hey guys, this is Hemant from Edureka. Today's session is on Microsoft Azure Certifications. So we're going to discuss why certifications are important, and then we're going to see the different certifications offered by Microsoft in different domains, and we're going to focus on the cloud certifications today. Right? So without wasting any more time, let's move on to the topic of today, that is the Azure certifications. So give me a second. Alright. So guys, as you can see, these are the domains in which Microsoft offers its certifications. And mind you guys, these certifications or the thing that I'm going to tell you today are based on the latest release that Microsoft has said in terms of their certification. They have changed quite a few things, and it was updated in September 2016, right? So there are quite a few changes now, and I will tell you what they are. Right, so these are the domains in which Microsoft is offering certifications right now. So you get certifications in mobility, you get certifications in cloud platform and infrastructure, you get certifications in productivity, you get Microsoft certification in data management and analytics. Then you can get Microsoft certified for being an app builder, that is an application builder, and then for business applications. Alright, so our focus area is around cloud platform and infrastructure, since we are learning Azure, right? So we are concerned with the Azure certifications. So let me shed a light on that, guys. Let us move down to the cloud platform and infrastructure path. Alright, so this is the path to your certifications. So basically each and every domain has been divided into two levels, right? You have an associate level and then you have the expert level. Now, in the cloud platform and infrastructure path, for becoming an associate, it is imperative that you pass more than one exam. All right? If you pass one exam, you become a specialist in that. For example, if you're passing, say, the 533 or 532 exam, right? So then you become a Microsoft specialist in developing Microsoft Azure solutions. Right? So this is a confusion which people have, that passing an exam will give you a certification. No. You get certified that you have passed this exam, but the certification, which is the MCSA certification, which is for the cloud platform, you will only get that when you pass any of these exams, that is any two of these exams. Alright, so for becoming an associate, that is a Microsoft certified associate in the cloud platform, you have to pass either of these two exams, and then the first exam is the 532, which is developing Microsoft Azure solutions, right? So developing Microsoft Azure solutions basically deals with a developer, right? If you are a developer, you are from a developing background, you can go for this certification. It involves quite a few things which we are going to discuss in the next coming minutes. Then there is 533, which involves managing Microsoft Azure infrastructure solutions. So again, with this, you get basically a Microsoft specialist certification, which just certifies that you have cleared this exam. But for an overall associate certification on cloud platform, like I said, you have to pass minimum 2 exams in this category. Alright, the managing Microsoft Azure infrastructure solutions is basically an exam which is related to system administrators, right? So if you are a system admin, you have the experience of a system administrator, this exam is for you, right? Then you have the 534, which is architecting Microsoft Azure solutions. So this exam is basically for people who are looking forward to architecting solutions in the cloud. So if you have a prior experience in architecting, you can take this exam, right? So basically you should know. So usually when people go for certifications or when people are preparing for exams, they don't know which exam to take because they don't have the knowledge on that, right? So firstly, if you are a developer, like I said, you should go for 532. If you are a system admin, you should go for 533. And if you are a system architect or a solutions architect, you should go for 534. Right? Once you have done this exam, when you want to reach to the next level, you should probably opt for an exam which is more closely related to your role, right? So we'll be discussing curriculum in a while, but then before that, now once you become an associate level certified person, you should go ahead and get certified for the expert level, right? Because there's an expert level certification, and the expert level certification works like this. So in the expert level certification, you have these many exams, right? And out of these exams, you have to attempt only one exam. Now, it's quite a bit confusing, but because if you can see, the 532, 533, and 534, or 473 and 475 are all the exams which are listed here as well. Then what is the difference? Like you to attempt 2 exams here, and then attempt 1 exam here, which is the same. You'll get expert certified. So it's not like that. The way it functions is like this. So the 2 exams that you'll be choosing over here are not the exams that you'll be choosing here, right? So you should be choosing a unique exam in this pool that you'll be appearing for, and once you pass that exam, including the exams that you have passed before, that are the 2 exams that you have already appeared for, you become a Microsoft certified solutions expert. All right, so this certification is also a very important certification, and the thing is, the guys, that you might be wondering if what is the difference between an expert and an associate. So the difference is experience, and the difference is obviously the domain knowledge, right? If you have appeared for more exams, if you are given more exams, you have passed those exams, that basically shows that you are more proficient in the subject, all right? And that is what makes the difference. Having said that, let's look at the curriculum that each exam is having. So my focus would be on 532, 533, and 534. All right, 473 basically deals with SQL, and 475 basically deals with big data analysis, which we can discuss. But I think when your goal is to become a Microsoft certified solutions expert, you should appear for only these 3 exams, which is 532, 533, and 534, because these are the exams which basically take out the cloud person in you. All these 3 exams are centered around Azure, right? So when you talk about 532, you're basically building solutions in cloud. When you talk about 533, you're basically managing these solutions and implementing them. And when you talk about 534, it basically talks about which service to use on the other service, right? So a job of a solution architect is to identify which service is the best for the particular use case, right? So for example, if I talk about, say, in Microsoft computing domain, you have 3 kind of services. You have virtual machines, you have app services, and then you have functions, right? And if there is a use case comes up that, say, you want to make an image processing application. So you should understand that use case and then opt for a service, right? So if you talk about app service, so app service basically deals with deployment of an application. And we talk about functions, it deals with the background tasks, right? And if you talk about virtual machines, it is basically a server that you get and you can do anything with it. Now the smart thing would be to basically deploy the application on a web app or on the app service, and the tasks which are to be done should be done using functions. Now I know most of you might not be knowing what I'm talking about, but this is what the architect's shop is all about. Once you get proficient with each and every service in the Azure cloud, you can take this call, you can make this decision as to what service to take. Alright, so this is what is the role of an architect. He decides which service should be used in which use case, and he comes up with an architecture, right? Once the architect's role is done, once architecture has come up, when he discusses it with its clients and his business operatives, he passes down this architecture to a system administrator, right? So the job of a system administrator is to implement this architecture and manage it afterwards. So once he implements this architecture, he can actually manage afterwards, because once the architecture has been implemented, obviously it is bound to have some problems, some managing problems or some configuration problems, as in which some servers, as to how to actually deploy this architecture. You want it to be geo-redundant, you want it to be locally redundant. It all depends on your use case, and it is the call of a system administrator to decide what to do. And afterwards the maintenance is needed as well, right? Then comes the role of a developer. So what a developer would do is, a developer would basically build solutions on this architecture, right? So whatever application that you have, he will build that application, and that application is to be then deployed on this architecture, right? And that is the reason when we talk about the exam 532, it includes the implementation part as well, that is implementing the solutions on the cloud, because sometimes the developers also get to do that, right? And that is the reason that 532, 533 and 534 exams are very closely aligned. So if you get prepared to 532, right, and you will pass that 532 exam, it would be not that difficult for you to pass the 533 exam and the 534 exam. You just might have to brush up on a few more topics and you are set. You can pass the 533 and the 534 exam as well. And if you pass the 533 and 534, you can become the expert level certified professional. All right. So having said that, let's see what is the curriculum in each of these exams. So like I said, so 532 basically deals with these things. So the 30 to 35% of your exam will deal with create and manage Azure Resource Manager, right? So what is an Azure Resource Manager? It is basically a place where you can manage your resources, right? So you should be able to create and manage this resource manager and virtual machines as well. So virtual machines, like I said, are just servers that you deploy on Azure with your choice of operating system on it. So you should be able to create and manage it, right? And the exam, it will have questions around the deployment part, around the managing part, all of that, right? So you should be able to identify workloads that cannot be deployed. So for example, like I said, if you talk about functions, functions cannot be used to deploy an application. It can only be used to execute background tasks. So if you are taking this exam, this kind of clarity should be there in your mind as in what can be done and what cannot. Because the questions will be tricky, guys. The questions will ask you these kind of things. Then comes automate configuration management. So you should be able to automate configuration using PowerShell, which is a command line tool offered by Azure, right? So basically, if you go to this particular link, you can read what all is related to you or what all you have to study in your this particular exam. All right. Then comes design and implement a storage and data strategy. So you should be able to design and implement the storage system that you're making in place, the way your application will be storing files on your architecture. You should be able to design that and also implement it. So like I said, it closely resembles the job of an architect as well, right? So yeah, you'd be evaluated on that as well. So on this, you have 25 to 30% of your exam will be based on this. Then comes manage identity, application, and network services, right? So for your Azure, you should be able to manage the identity, application, and network services. So you should be able to manage the applications which you're deploying on your Azure cloud, right? And the network services as well, because there are a lot of firewall settings that you will be doing. It is called security configuration of your each and every application, because when you deploy an application in the Azure cloud, there are basically a lot of things that you have to configure if you want to connect to that particular service. For example, if you deploy a MySQL implementation on Azure and you want to connect to that MySQL installation, you have to configure that installation. You have to go to the configuration management. You have to add your machine's IP address over there, and once the IP address is added over there, then only your computer will be authenticated to the particular MySQL service. All right. So like I said, so this knowledge, I know I'm passing it down to you, but you should be able to do that with other services as well. So this was MySQL. You should be able to do that with virtual machines. So basically, if you want to access your virtual machine, how would you do that and everything? All right. Then comes design and implement Azure Platform as a Service, compute and web and mobile app services. So design in the sense you should be able to create applications and implement them using the application services, right? So platform as a service basically is the app service that is there in Azure, right? In app service, you have a lot of subparts. It contains web apps, which is used to deploy web applications. It contains mobile apps that are used to deploy mobile applications. So it has a lot of things. So it expects you to have a proficiency in app services as well. All right, so this is the curriculum around the 532 exam. If you go by 533, you'll notice there are quite a few things which are common. So like I said, design and implement Azure app service. So app service is the platform as a service that we were talking about. It contributes to 15 to 20% of your exam. and then there is create and manage Azure Resource Manager, which is the same as the previous exam. Design and implement a storage strategy, same as the previous exam. Implement an Azure Active Directory. Right now, this is something which is different from the 532 exam, so you might need to study this as well. Then comes implement virtual networks. This is also a part of your 532 exams, because when you'll be dealing with applications, you'll be dealing with virtual networks as well. Right? Then comes design and deploy ARM templates. Right? So this is the Azure Resource Manager, so you should be able to design and deploy the templates in ARM. So this is the curriculum around 533. Pretty simple, around 60 to 70, or I'd say 80% of the curriculum is the same as 532. All right, let's come down to 534. So 534 has design Azure Resource Manager networking. Okay, this is something different, and it contributes around 5 to 10% of the exam. Secure resources, so you should know all the security best practices as an architect, because 534 is an architect exam. So you should be able to design security rules which can be followed to basically have the maximum security on your application. So now Azure security best practices are also listed, so you should be acquainted with those best practices so that you can apply it on your architecture, right? Then comes design and application storage and data access strategy, which is the same as that of 532 and 533. Then you have design advanced applications. So you should be able to architect advanced applications. Then you have design Azure web and mobile apps. So you should be able, you should have a proficiency in designing and deploying the web and mobile apps, which is a part of the app service, which is already a part of 532 and 533. Then you should be able to design a management monitoring and business continuity strategy. All right, so now, and as an architect, you would be expected to monitor all the resources on Azure. Same is the case of system administrator as well, because he will be the person who will be managing it later. But as an architect, you should be acquainted with the fact that you should be able to monitor the resources which you have deployed on Azure. All right, then comes architect and Azure compute infrastructure. So like I said, given a use case, you should be able to architect it using the services in the Azure cloud. All right, so this is what it is about the architect role in Azure. 533 is with the system administrator, so it's all about implementing and managing the resources once they have deployed. And the developer role is all about the application that the architect is building the architecture for, right? So basically the architecture is built for an application, right? So the developer has to write that application and should be able to deploy it on the Azure environment. Having said that, guys, so this covers the 532, 533 and 534 exam, which is essential for you to gain the expert level certification. So first, you might be appearing for say 532 and 533. Once you do that, you can go for 534 in the elective exam pool, and you will have the MCSE. So according to me, if I have a U, I would go with this. Now, if you have an experience with SQL, you can go with 473. Right, so 473 basically deals with the SQL share of things. So it is centered around SQL server databases. So you'll be asked extensively around that. And then comes 475. So if you are from a background who has been into big data analytics or big data, right? So 475 exam is based around big data management, right? So you can go and appear for 475 and hence prioritize your exam for the elective pool as well. Alright, so guys, this is what you have to prepare for. Now the things that why certification. So you get certified, but what are the benefit of getting certified? So first of all, guys, let me clear it out to you. Just because you're certified, that does not guarantee you a job, right? So for getting a job, you again have to sit for interviews, but because you'll be certified, it will be an add to your resume. You can be given more preference over others when you appear for interviews. But like I said, you again have to go through the process of interviews even when you are certified. And that is the reason I tell people to actually go or actually prepare for the course rather than going for dumps which are available online. So dumps are something which people who have appeared for the examination, they tend to leak the questions that they think they have memorized, and they leak the questions online. Now, These questions might help you in a way that you might mug up or cram the answers and then spill it out on your test day. But that won't help you when you go for an interview, because once you get interviewed, all will be up, right? Everything will be exposed. They will get to know that you don't know anything about Azure, right? So it is better to actually prepare for Azure in the normal way and then give the exam, because that will not only get you certified, but that will also give you an extensive knowledge of the subject. All right, and it will give you an edge. So first of all, once you get certified, it will only give you an edge over the other candidates in the first round. Once you've cleared the first round, you're all the same. Your certification doesn't help, right? It will only help you for the knowledge that you have gained, and it will be reflected in the interview when the interviewer will ask you questions. Alright, so with that, guys, one more thing. The 532 exam, like I said, is there for MCSE or MCSA. But with the newly developed system, you can also become an app builder. So if you are a developer who has extensive knowledge on C# or deploying or creating applications, you can go for the app builder certification as well. So with the app builder, the thing is like this, that first you have to attempt for 483 or 357, which deals, so 483 examinations is programming in C# and the 357 exam is developing mobile apps, right? So that will earn you a certification which is called Universal Windows Platform. So you'll be an associate level in this exam, right? And when you go for, if you want to become an associate in web applications, you need to attempt 480, which is programming in HTML5 with JavaScript and CSS3, and 486, which tests your knowledge on ASP.NET MVC web applications. And once you clear these two examinations, you also have an option between 480 and 483, that is programming in C#. So once you clear two examinations, you become an MCSA, right? Once you become an MCSA in web applications or Universal Windows Platform, you can become an MCST by giving one exam in the elective exam pool. And the thing here to notice is that you have the 532 and the 534 exam here as well, right? So if you are a developer, you can clear these exams, and for earning the expert level, that is the Microsoft Certified Solutions Developer Certification, you can appear for either 532, which is basically involves your knowledge on Azure and how to deploy applications on Azure, and the 534, which is architecting Microsoft Azure solutions. So in both these services, in both these cases, basically they will get to know that, okay, that you know Azure cloud as well, and then you can become an expert in that domain, because not only you know how to code an application, but you also know how to deploy that application on the cloud. And that is why it makes sense for the developer or the expert level certification to know about 532 and 534. If you want to make a career shift into cloud, I would suggest you would go with this certification, which is MCSA Cloud Platform. But if you want to stay on course and become a code developer, it would be better if you go for app builder path. Now guys, this clarity you should have. This should be the clarity you should have, that which certification to appear for, right? And once you have this kind of clarity, it becomes very simple for you then to what exam you should give, right? So with this, guys, I would like to conclude and wish you all the best for your exam, whatever exam you're giving, right? Always stay informed on what you have to do or about the things that you're going to do. Never follow somebody else's footsteps. Okay, just because that guy is giving a 532 exam, let me give us 532 exam as well, right? So don't be like that. Be informed of what you are trying to do, and that will give you the maximum results. All right, guys, so with that, let's conclude today's session. Thank you for attending today's session. I hope you learned something new today. See you in the next session. Have a good day ahead. Goodbye.
I hope you enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply to them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to our Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!